Hi, everyone. I'm Eduardo Vilaro, the Artistic Director and CEO of Ballet Hispánico, and welcome to Choreographers and Cocktails and Other Dance Artists. Today with me, I have the fabulous Nancy Turano. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Eduardo. How are you?
I'm good. Nancy Turano is the Artistic Director of New Jersey Dance Theater Ensemble and also one of Ballet Hispánico's most favorite alums. I'm so glad she could join me here today to talk about Tito Antimbales. But before we start, Nancy, I just wanted to give William Whitener's kind of resume because he is such an important figure in the dance world. And I think that it's important to keep these people who made such strides earlier on to where we are today. William Whitener performed worldwide and on Broadway with the Joffrey Ballet, Twyla Tharp Dance, Bob Fosse's Dancing, New York City Opera, and Martha Clark's Garden of Earthly Delights. He choreographed over 60 dances for Boston Ballet, Pacific Northwest Ballet, Kansas City Ballet, and the Royal Winnipeg Le Jazz Ballet de Montreal, Ballet Hispánico, yay, Seattle Repertory Theater, and many others. He also created dances for stage and television for Anne Reiking, Tommy Tune, Bill Irwin, and Faith Prince. He is an incredible choreographer that spans beyond just the contemporary and classical dance stage. He served as artistic director of the Royal Winnipeg, Les Ballets Jazz de Montreal, and Kansas City Ballet. And he made some wonderful, this is just one of the dances that he made for Ballet Hispánico. And with me today is Nancy Turano. Nancy, I wonder if we could start by you telling me a little bit about you.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I started in Ballet Hispánico in 1985, and this work, Tito and Timbales, was 1984. It was choreographed and first performed. So when I entered into Ballet Hispánico, this is one of the earlier works that I did. And so I got to dance with Ballet Hispánico for many years. I was also part of the school for a long time and rehearsal director. Tito and Timbales was a really great work, and I had the opportunity to perform it a lot of times and with Tito live on stage. And that was really an amazing thing because his music was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, talk about wanting to be inspired on stage when you
Yes.
had this band on stage live behind you. He just, it was electricity, and we were absolutely inspired by him, except for certain occasions when maybe the music would get very fast and we had no control and we just had to go with it. So it was a lot of fun.
I remember, it was one of my first performances in '85. It was Tito. We played with him in New Jersey, in Newark, and the music got really fast at one point, and I was newly minted to the company, and I was like, "Whoa, I can't go any faster," because that the work is so intricate, and this is where I want to take us to. The work is so intricate, and it does so much to deconstruct some of the Latin movements and then reconstruct it in a very contemporary way for that time. And also, I mean, his background with Twyla is so evident. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that and about working with him, and some of the jewels that he gave you, maybe.
Sure, absolutely. Well, the wonderful thing about working with him, yeah, I have a phone running right now. The wonderful thing working with Bill was he was really mathematical. He was really into counting and spatial patterns, creating patterns with people, creating counterpoints, creating canons, and the movement, again, like you said, was extremely intricate. So when you talk about Twyla Tharp, and she would often say, okay, do your arms on a 3 while you're doing your head on a 2 and your legs are doing the cha-cha-cha. That was the complication of it. Although it looks a little bit deconstruct in a sense. You're doing, maybe your hands are doing this, but really it's the rhythmic patterns within that were complicated to learn when you were a young artist, of course, and a developing artist. And I mean, I think that was exciting for us as dancers to have to use our minds as well. And there was a lot of partnering, a lot of patterning. The steps, some of the people had difficult steps. The men's solo was challenging, especially when off balance. But what I loved about it is it had the essence and the nuance of Latin culture. And when we toured with that work, I think his work was very successful, not only because we were with Tito, but because of the fact that it gave people a great introduction to Latin culture in a palatable way. Because very oftentimes when, you know, Eddie, when we were touring back in that time in the early 80s, a lot of these were people's first introduction to what is Latino. Like when we were going to Middle America, people didn't really have an idea about it. So I think it was a great presentation. People enjoyed it. It was really upbeat, but it was a beautiful, in a way, it was a contemporary fusion like Twyla loved, which, you know, which had his background in ballet, in addition to modern, and a fusion with Latin dance.
Yes, and the thing about touring this work, there was an accessibility, and it also reminded everyone, you know, we have to really think that right now we are in such a time of fusion and realization and awareness and awokeness, right? And so we tend to really point out when something may feel inauthentic. Yet at that time, it was really difficult because we were much more marginalized as Latinos, and we were not into all of America as we are now. So when we came into a town, I mean, remember the full tours of Wisconsin, Waukesha, Wisconsin,
Oh, yeah.
and Ohio. You know, this is the kind of work that opened up an appetite, so then you could bring something else in, which is something that was very important for Ballet Hispánico and for the country, that we were bringing this work, no matter who it was made from. I mean, I think that that's the thing, that you go through stages in art and full development. And I'm wondering if you can maybe give us a story about touring this. I know you talked about Tito, but what was that response that you felt from the audience?
Oh, the audience, I mean, the music itself was already vibrant. So I think it was well received. And you know, one of the great things about it was at the end of each show, we would come on the stage and jam with Tito in the band, and we would all just come out and you know, we didn't know what he was going to be playing, and we were all just dancing. And that moment, which was so authentic, and the, you know, the excitement, the truth, like the moment of feeling that music in your body and expressing that was amazing. I remember one time being, we were in Vermont, and I might have told you about this, and you know, we're young and, you know, in shape and everything. And I said to Tito in the wings before we went out for the jam, I said, Tito, I bet you I could do this and do salsa longer than you could hit the timbales. And he probably looked at me like, you little girl, okay? And he just kept going, bah, bah, para, 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 para. And I was going like this or whatever. And after a while, I got a big stitch on my side. I couldn't breathe. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this man is ferocious. I mean, he just looked at me and laughed at me. You know, he just laughed at me. But it was each time we did it, it was live. And I think, you know, back in the 80s, I think there was a couple of things going on. You know, the company was making a transition. Originally, the company had a little bit more flamenco background, and with Tina taking these new choreographers for the first Joyce season in 1983, I think it was, she was trying to, you know, bring in other type of work and choreographers, and I think it was a real bold move on her side. And you know, this work and us touring it, I think we always got caught with being stereotyped. Oh, it's always a party, it's always a Latin party. And I think this had that deconstruct element, which put us in a very good place there. And I think that, you know, like you said, the evolution and observing Ballet Hispánico from that period and watching it again in the video and looking at where the company is now and being accepted as a Latino company, yet going into a direction that is, yeah, we are Latinos, but we don't always do salsa in our house every single night. And because we are Latinos, we can do this, and we can do all kinds of dance. We are Latinos, whether we do ballet or modern or contemporary, or, you know, the cutting edge of what's happening new. And I think that's been a wonderful evolution in the company. And to look at its 50th anniversary right now, and to have been involved with the company for 35 years in a sense, and you too. And it's been a great journey and ride. And I think Ballet Hispánico has served such a huge purpose in the landscape of the arts in America, something that's so important and so valuable. And, you know, when I was thinking back to 1985, Eddie, I hope I'm not talking too much,
No,
but
no,
my
you're fine.
contract, when I joined the company in 1985, I was SUNY purchase student, my first audition, I got the job. And it was a 49-week contract, Eduardo, because of the funding for the arts. Like, we were touring 49 weeks. You know, this is a very interesting thing to look back at that opportunity in the 80s and where the arts are. And of course, at this very moment, what's going on after the cuts in the 80s and continuous cuts after that. You know, the amazing thing to me is that, you know, they say you cannot kill it, you cannot drown it. It's the soul. And dance, music, the arts, they just keep going. I mean, it's within the soul of every culture. So I think that's very important right now that everybody's reflecting about what's
Sure.
important in their lives. And certainly the arts and Ballet Hispánico are very important to the landscape of America. So I really appreciate you bringing me in on this and
Oh,
allowing me
absolutely.
to.
Well, well, I have to tell you that I know that there are many people watching, so I want to make sure this is Ballet Hispánico talking about Tito Antimbales by William Whitener with our guest, Nancy Turano. I know we have folks out there. One of the things I want to say is, you know, this was my first dance that I learned, I remember. And I had to learn from two very strong women. First, Catherine Ross, it's Catherine Ross Nash, and then you. It was a real kind of like, boom, here it is. You are now in a professional company, get with it. And I'll never forget that. It was so, so important. We have a question, and the question is about, interesting enough, I like this question, is about the costumes. They could see a little flare of Latino, but the colors are muted. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, where that comes from.
Yeah, well, the original costume designer was Patricia Ziprot, who was a huge, famous costume designer. And I think it is very curious. They were all tones originally of brown, you know, and we used to always get that comment, why weren't they really vivacious and, you know, maybe red, or, you know, hues of red or flowers and us. And I think we probably would have to ask the conversation, why Bill? We always got that question, just FYI, when we're on tour. I think, and this is my personal opinion, Bill was, again, really taking elements of Latin movement, whether it was like, you know, the men doing this, we love to do this, or like the women, you know, doing these kinds of movements. But again, it was in this deconstruct way, and which is, it's interesting. It kind of reminds me of the Nijinsky period where they were all in this brown. I don't know, but it took something away from the flair of the superficial or the external, and really started to focus in on the dance itself. I don't know why he chose the colors in brown. I saw you brightened it up a little bit in the newer version. There was a little bit reddish color there. I think we'd have to ask Bill about that, but maybe, you know, why did Balanchine take the costumes off neoclassicism? I mean, that's just my guess. But we always did get that question, why did he pick brown? I
Yeah,
don't know.
I actually really love it. And I think it's very important because brown is a beautiful color, first of all. And I think that what it does, it removes expectation, and I love that. And certainly what we've done at Ballet Hispánico is remove us from iconographic representation to subtlety. But what I love about the costumes and what people kind of sometimes miss is the silhouettes. So the silhouettes are so Latino, high-waisted men, flamenco, the silhouette or the shape, the dress of the ladies, all very, you shows your curve, but then it flares out. It's so gorgeous. And it also, to me, kind of responds to this very colonial inspired moment in time, because we have such a history and a legacy from the colonial time. And he captured that in the way you start, in the way you're greeting people. It's a welcome. You're moving in patterns. There's something that it feels like almost a cakewalk, or a danzón. So I love how he broke that down, and then how he put that into the costumes. And so he wanted a little bit more red in the one costume. So when we redid it, so we brought him back. He's an amazing choreographer and artist. So Nancy, we have time for a couple more questions. I wonder if we can move away from Tito and go to Ballet Hispánico, and talk about your time at Ballet Hispánico. Maybe if you could tell me your most fondest memory of being at Ballet Hispánico.
I can't even say one, because there are I have to be honest with you, and Eduardo, because you were part of some of the greatest memories, and our best friends we're still all friends. I think number one, we loved to dance. We were serious. We were all, I think, very strong dancers, and we were committed to what we were doing. Number two, when that moment was over, like the rehearsals, the performances, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun on the stage when we would look at one another. We loved what we were doing. But I will say that, oh, sure, there's plenty of, you mean the stories like where we would disappear with the costume truck on tour? No, we're not going to talk about that. And end up in some volcanic in Hawaii? No, we weren't going to talk about it at all.
The dancers may be watching.
That's
the current dancers
absolutely
may be watching. We don't want to promote that.
No, we wouldn't say anything about that. I mean, I think that we had a lot of moments on stage, and we had chemistry. But the fun was happening in the dressing rooms. I can't even go into it probably, Eduardo, and say half the things that occurred. But when we got on the stage, we were inspired. We were consistent. We love what we did. We really respected our company and our organization. We were proud to be where we were, and we were committed to what we were doing. I mean, me personally, there was always these offers to do other things, but I felt fully committed to what I was doing, and I believed in the vision of Ballet Hispánico, and I enjoyed being there. So, fun moments.
Yeah. The best thing is that I think in both our legacy, part of your and my legacy, is that we continue Tina's legacy of what she built in the company, and that sense of community and family and fun. I know our current dancers are all of that. I see so much of who we were in them. It's such a beautiful thing to see that and to keep nurturing it. Because what it does is it gives, these incredible personalities on stage that reach out of the proscenium and affect people all the time. It's so beautiful. And so I think that we owe it to Tina to continue that, first of all, and then we just owe it to ourselves.
Eduardo, certainly we will always be great. Me personally, and we will always be grateful to Tina Ramirez. She was the person not only that gave me my first professional job as a young college student, I was still in school, but she's the one who gave me, all of us, the opportunities. Like I remember the opportunity. She gave us the opportunities to to be the soloists in work. She gave us the opportunities to teach in the school. She gave us, you and I, the opportunities to do outreach programs and learn how to do educational programs for children and homeless children and all of these things. She gave us opportunities to speak for the company, you know, and all those opportunities were valuable to us, and they led us to be where we are today. And you know, we love Tina Ramirez. We love Ballet Hispánico. I think Ballet Hispánico is an organization that everybody should support right now, always, but currently right now, absolutely, it's a gem. I've been around the United States, around the world. There's nothing like it, and you know, I think it's a gem of New York City. So everybody,
oh my God.
for it.
Thank you, Nancy. I can't, this is, we should end because we have no more questions, and this was the perfect note. I can't thank you for much. I do want to tell everyone, Nancy is the director of the Jersey Dance Theater Ensemble. It is a gorgeous company. She does amazing things to train young people. Catch them, see them, and support them as well. I'm going to say that. Thank you, Nancy, for being with us. Everyone else, next week, we will be showing Azuka by yours truly. It's a tribute to Celia Cruz, and I will now be in the hot seat being asked questions. So don't forget to join us for Wepa Wednesday and our watch party. Thank you, Nancy. Adios.